episode of Your Brain on Hops. With me as always, I have
Alex,
Dan,
and we have a special guest star today as well, Greg Baker. Greg, would you like to say hi to everybody?
How you doing, guys?
All right. He'll be talking to us today about cellar beers, which is our topic for this episode. Basically aging beers, because beers that are really good to squirrel away and open up later. And sometimes they get better, sometimes they're different, sometimes they're abysmally awful. But you can do a lot with cellar beers. The first one we have up here is from Tool, and it is Fuck Art The Heathens Are Coming. One of the many Fuck Art series that they have. Those people really don't like art.
Damn those heathens.
it's a really nice beer. I love the color of it. I was expecting something a little funkier, but the tiny little bit of bread in there is gorgeous.
Yep. It's light. It's not overpowering.
Yeah.
Nice citrus from it. I know they're traditionally hopped a little more than Saisons.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously this is a year old, so most of that probably fell off. But there is a nice underlying citrus note to it. Definitely something I would drink sitting on the beach for hours.
Absolutely.
Oh,
especially being 5.4% ABV.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect beach beer, or hot weather day beer, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I love a little bit of that citrus that comes through out of this.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing.
It's really easy to make that go wrong, but this beer does not make it go wrong. It's the perfect amount of citrus.
Now you said you had this for 1 year?
Yeah, this is 1 year old at this point.
Did you have a fresh bottle back when you got it? Or have you had this fresh before?
Yeah, I've had it fresh. We got it into Brew Works probably the newest batch a month ago, and I had one again. Definitely the citrus is stronger on it, but I kind of like how the age just kind of let that subdue a little bit.
It's stronger on the fresh one?
Yeah, the brand new one.
Okay.
It's definitely more punchy.
Yeah.
A little more acidity on it.
Cool. So you'll have to plan a year ahead to make this your summer beer.
Yeah,
Get
right.
it just to that right there.
Yeah. I've got enough down there anyway.
That is an impressive cellar down there. Now, what is it about, particularly this one, you decided to age? Because mostly with beers that I have, it's usually I'm going for maybe a stout. I'm finding a porter or at least a higher ABV beer that kind of keeps it in the safe realm. You don't see too many beers, at least with a low ABV of 5.4, that you're throwing down there in the cellar for.
Right. Well, I mean, the fact that it is brewed using wild yeast, the Brettanomyces will keep working and working and working. So you don't really know what you are going to end up with.
Ooh, mystery.
Could be a bread bottle.
Yes.
At the end.
Yeah, it could be super barnyard or very pleasant, which I'd say this one's very pleasant. There's really no barnyardiness at all to it.
And yeah, could you just get a completely new bottle and it could just totally go south?
Per batch, yeah, for sure.
It's like, what's that one psychology thing? Schrodinger's cat. You don't know if the cat's dead or not. Inside the box. It's like Schrodinger's beer. It's a lot less morbid.
Oh my lord.
We should make a sour, some kind of beer with wild yeast and call it Schrodinger's cat.
It's got to be done by now.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
I'm just saying it's got to have been done.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's a great name for a beer, but not ringing a bell. Just a psychology series in general of beers, I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely a market there.
Play with the names.
And with all the litigation going on around beer names, I mean, tapping unused beer names, that's...
that's why I said it's got to probably been done before.
Or you could do a Rorschach Rausch beer.
Ooh, there you go. It'd be very nice.
I can't think of any other plays on words right now. But
I just keep thinking about Sigmund Freud, something with Sigmund Freud.
Freudian slip.
There you go.
What kind of beer would be named
that's
Freudian
Evil
slip?
Twin right there. Freudian slip.
There we go. Okay.
There's one. There's the first one.
Yeah. Evil Twin probably has plans for more psychology named ones.
Oh yeah.
With the amount of different beers that they put out, they gotta have a lot of names.
Yeah, they are prolific.
So if you are wondering what a grisette is, it's not a common beer that's been brewed, or it was brewed back in the day a lot, and then when beer taste changed, I guess the demand for that kind of shifted. But traditionally a saison is more farmhouse, and a grisette is is commonly drank by miners or those involved in industry. So while similar to a saison. It had its own unique characteristics. Definitely lower alcohol for one, and a little hoppier.
And this is industry 1800s type industry.
Yeah, late 1700s, and and then as the Industrial Revolution progressed, like I said, people's tastes changed, and the beer kind of went out of style.
As far as the beer goes, with drinking it while working or as part of industry, I guess it's better to drink a low ABV beer than gin. I mean, one of the one of the main points of the temperance movement during that time was trying to get people who worked in industries to stop getting so damn drunk on liquor and gin and drink beer instead, because then they'd actually get some nutrition in their system, as well as not get piss-ass drunk at work.
Well, it was, also too, it was fermented. It was safe to drink.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
There's, you didn't have to worry about infected water. It was, at some point boiled and fermented, and the good
kills
bacteria.
off all the
bad
stuff.
If it was bad, it would definitely not taste how they intended.
Yeah, it was healthier to drink beer than water.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I practice that to this day.
The wisdom of the ancients.
Along with beers for the workers, the monks in Trappist monasteries, they brew Tatter's beer or Potter's beer. That's low in ABV, and that's what they drink. Instead of drinking the doubles and triples and getting hammered.
I mean, good for them, because they are brewing those, obviously, and then those are the ones that they sell. So they have access to them right there, and then they stick with their Tatter's beer. That's where
the levels come from. Like with Roquefort, 6, 8, 10. 10's like special event beer. 6 is everyday beer.
I'd love to be at one of those special events.
Nobody talking.
Just sitting around, but you're all drunk and you're like, I want to say something. I want to at least tell them I'm really wasted.
Just keep that 10 coming. Just keep that Roquefort coming. That'd be a good special event.
The one guy who breaks his silence. Get out.
I mean, eventually, if everyone's just sitting there savoring and drinking their beer, you're gonna start to get drunk. Those aren't light beers. And then eventually, once you get drunk enough, people start.
Plus, you nod. Do you even make a noise when you do that? Just you did a good job on this one.
The monks are they're not gonna be able to pick up any ladies.
Yeah.
Not talking. So somebody's gonna have to say something.
So that could possibly be the most uncomfortable, awkward room in the world at that very moment on that special event.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of dudes sitting around a table, not speaking and just getting drunk.
Hey, baby, want to go back to my place and transcribe scripts? Yeah, it doesn't really work.
No.
So getting back on topic, cellar beers. Greg, if you want to talk about your cellar beers a little bit, some of the favorites that you've busted out.
I mean, when I started, as a lot of people know, you want higher ABV. So that's really what I went for was, imperial stouts, barley wines, and any type of strong ale. A lot of barrel aged stuff. And then it got to the point where I had too much, and I started really getting into sour beers and beers brewed with Brett, and that's when I started pulling that stuff in. I still do keep the stouts for winter season. Typically, summertime, I'm drinking fresh IPA. Hopefully.
Yeah, fall goes well.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, I primarily have more darker stuff, but I do like adding sours on. I like to see how they kind of change, from fresh to a year old or older. It's nice working at Brew Works because that's it's kind of what I get paid to do.
Yeah.
Day to day. So it's nice being able to have it right off the bat and see what happens.
With sours, too, I bet it's not always, but it could be easier to tell the difference. Because as a beer ages and mellows out a little bit, it might be a little bit more different between an aged sour and a fresh sour versus an aged, like a strong ale or a fresh strong ale.
And I know one thing, too, some fuller-bodied beers, if you age them too long, they'll actually start losing body. And like you had said before, sometimes it's abysmal.
Yeah.
but I think there's a better track record with sour beer, just because I don't know, it doesn't have. It's got a most of them have a very light body, so there's really nowhere for that to go. That's going to stay the same.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then with the wild yeast, and that, like I said, that stuff keeps working, and that's I guess that's your only what if moment. You know what I mean?
Especially with Brett.
Yeah. Or how much it's used, or what strain.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll normally eat up everything.
I think I actually only have one Brett in my entire collection, and that's the Stone and Joy After series that I can't open yet.
Do you have the July 4th one?
I think I do, actually.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Well, I know what I'll be doing July 3rd.
Kirby's house. Oh, yeah, or here.
Have either of you had one of those fresh ones yet, or have you honored the Enjoy After part of it?
This is the first time I bought it, and I'm like, well, okay, can't apparently open it until this date. So,
yeah, I mean, I followed that too. We only got 12 into the shop, and it was something in the back of my mind, like, yeah, I'm gonna get one of those, and then I came in the one day, and there's one left. So, like, the thought was to try one fresh, but hopefully if another one comes out, maybe just before the 4th of July to, vertical it.
I had one of the 10/31/15s, and I waited until Halloween of last year, but then totally forgot that I put it in my kegerator and didn't have it till November 20-something.
Okay.
So it was
13 months.
Yeah. How was it?
It was good. It was a lot of Brett.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Brett in there. But a Brett IPA it's pretty good.
Right.
The hop character dies off a little bit, but you keep that citrusy Brett character that really it's backed up with what was left from the hops.
It's interesting to look at Brett IPAs, because I know like Evil Twin does the whole Femme Fatale series.
Mm.
And I mean those, like the regular Femme Fatale it's like drinking Mandarin orange juice. Slight tartness, nice hoppiness, but it's very orangey. And then you get into some of the other, like the Asian citrus fruit ones, and I forgot which one it was.
Yuzu?
It wasn't, the yuzu was still kind of fruity. There was another one, this Sudaku. That one was, it was like drinking water from the farm. It was so barnyardy.
Oh.
But I get, that just shows what Brett can do to a beer.
It can be potent. It can be very potent. I've had some Brett beers that were just Brett bombs, and I couldn't do it.
There's been a weird rise of everyone loving the sours lately, and it's still not hitting my palate enough where I'm just like, all right, I'm not waiting for it, like, funkier the better, I think is the way you've put it at the bar before. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, it smells like cat piss. Sometimes it's floral, sometimes it's subtle, and then there's other times where I'm just like, okay, this is actually causing my jaw to cramp. And I'm just like, I don't want to drink this right now. Give me that IPA.
Well, yeah, I hear you. I mean, when I first got into it, yeah, like, the more sour the better, the funkier the better, and I kind of like now when they're a little more pulled back a little bit.
Balanced.
Yeah. I can do something super sour, but that's probably the only one I'm going to drink. Because I know, I can already feel the heartburn coming on. And the funky ones, yeah, they're good, but I've got to be in a mood for them. I mean, last night, saw the list, and I love Jolly Pumpkin, but having that be most of the list.
Yeah, there were an impressive amount of Jolly Pumpkin beers.
And a lot of, non-bottled ones, which was cool to see. I mean, what I did have was good, but, I was out to have more than a couple beers, and I was not going to have more than a couple sours. So, switch over to the trusty hops.
That's why I started with tequila and martinis.
Pre-game of champions. Well, let's move on to our next beer here. This is actually one from Alex's cellar. So, Alex, if you want to introduce the beer, how long have you been aging it?
Yeah, this is a Widmer Brothers Old Embalmer from 2013. It's a barley wine with some experimental hops, or experimental for the time.
Yeah, I wonder if those hops are just standard hops nowadays.
Yeah, I just looked into it, and I didn't see anything online for this number. X431. I didn't see anything for it, so...
It sounds like the code name of an X-Man before they get an actual superhero name.
While they're in the queue.
Oh, yeah. When do I get a real name?
Yeah, there's too many of you.
No, I got this at Red Hook Brewing Company when I was there in 2014. And I put it away for a couple of years, and I don't know. I think it's lost a lot of character.
Yeah, I would say, like we alluded to earlier, the aging process will, sometimes, drastically diminish the body. And I think, for what the alcohol level is, what was it, 10.3?
10 point something, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something that big is, unless you're talking Belgian triple, which, using, substituting candy sugar for malt.
To dry out the body.
But I mean, barley wines are super, super malty, so there's obviously a ton used, and, that should be reflected. If this was fresh, it would probably feel a whole lot fuller in your mouth.
Right. Yeah, I mean, normally with a barley wine, you're looking for that chewiness.
Doesn't really feel like that amount of alcohol is in here either. Definitely none of that boozy character remains after that time.
No.
I get a booziness.
Really?
I don't pick up on the booziness at all. I get more of a vanilla characteristic. I can still smell it. I get the aroma. But like you said, it's thin. It's, when I drink a barley wine, it's almost that warming feeling. It's got a little more viscosity to it. It's you can pick up sometimes even some of the stone fruit characteristics. Caramel, that heavily caramel malt is always there. And this, it's died out a lot, which, like you said, could be from the aging, which is why it's almost better. You always buy two. Like, I always buy two of whatever I'm going to age, drink one as fast as possible.
Drink one fresh.
And then just let the other one ride out. And usually I expect, though, the flavor profile will change, but you still get a sense that it's there, and I feel like this just lost something.
Yeah, while the flavor profile is a bit thinner, I don't know. There's still a big mouthfeel for me at least, but it's less of a flavor mouthfeel and more of a musty mouthfeel. Like, it kind of tastes old to me. It still lingers for a little while after I drink it. It's not like a thinner ale or like a sessionable ale or anything, but it's just not the same kind of flavor I'm used to from barley wines.
No, as Alex said about, he can detect the booziness. I can detect it aroma-wise, but when it's in my mouth, I don't get that warming. And like when you swallow it, you can feel that warmth trail go all the way to your stomach, and that's not there for me. That said, though, I'm really enjoying this because, there's one thing I don't love is fresh barley wine. I guess that was never the intention of the brewers. It's always something that should be aged, I guess to enjoy it at its peak.
Yeah, that's a good point. And with this one, too, when we opened it up, there's a lot of carbonation at first. I had to go ahead and kill off some of that, which, sometimes you just have to do that with the beer. The process is a bit mercurial that way. So it's not really a bad thing, but just kill it off, switch it around a little bit.
It's usually what I do with every Belgian beer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Tone it down a bit, get those bubbles out.
Sometimes it's like champagne where it's, you don't even swallow it, it just evaporates.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you don't really get any flavor characteristics or, any nuances of it. It's just kind of, it's there and it's gone.
Yeah, it totally just washes out the flavor.
Mm-hmm. Like a cat licking itself. Which,
what the fuck is it doing over there?
It's actually nothing like a cat licking itself, but we're all just watching a cat lick itself in the corner of the
it's a mixture of
recording room
and
here.
vomiting. I'm like, are you gonna, if you hack on this table, so help me God.
Hack on my coat, so help me God.
Oh, Millie.
So, excellent point, Kat. We should. One thing I wanted to do on this episode is take advantage of Greg being here. And not only does he have a...
Greg.
Alex, I wasn't going to bring that up on the air.
We're here all night, right?
We got a couple more beers to drink the next
Our second beer is a barley wine. I wonder where we're going from here.
Yeah.
Old ale.
Shit just got dark.
You're right on hops after dark.
I'm going home already.
Maybe we get Dr. Drew on or something.
Oh, yeah? Whole new crowd we can go to.
Yeah. Call-in show.
I like it. But take advantage of Greg in a different way is what I was referring to. He's been
Phrasing still phrasing.
He's been a bartender at a local craft beer joint, Aurora Brew Works, that we've mentioned here before, for a while now. So wanted to get his take on the wide world of craft beer bars and any stories that you have from your experiences.
Yeah, no doubt. I guess I'll start at the beginning. I don't know, back when I started drinking craft beer, there was pretty much two available. It was, you get Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and you get the Saranac Mix Pack. And my dad would always get like the Trail Mix Pack from Saranac. Didn't like the darker beers, and at 18 he's like, you can have the dark ones. So I was cool with that, I got my tongue wet, so to speak, and once I became of age and more beer started coming to the market, I got more and more into it. And, right before Brew Works opened, I'd seen the Facebook posts and I was like, I can't wait, something like this in our town. Because at that point, this was, they announced that they were opening, they opened in July. They announced that they were going to be a business, it was probably about, maybe late 2011. You just look at the beer landscape in Buffalo in the past 5 years, it's grown exponentially. So just to have that in East Aurora was cool. They opened, you walked in, it seemed overwhelming then. And at that point, there's maybe 250 types of beer. Now we're up over 750. But, started going there, developed a good rapport with customers and with the owners, and eventually was asked to come on board. Which took no time to decide. It was a quick yes, and I started the next week. But since being there, it's great to be able to essentially develop people's palates without them really noticing. You get a lot of people in, not so much anymore, but in the beginning, they'd be, is there, you have Bud Light or do you have Coors? And jokingly we'd point, and say no, Rite Aid does though. Or Barville does.
Do you have anyone take you up on that?
Sometimes, and that still happens once in a while. Like, they're like, what do you mean you don't have Coors?
And at this point, after so many years, you just bow your head and just go,
Well, that's like going to Rick's and being like, hey, do you guys have steak-em sandwiches? It's not going to happen.
Oh, you have real steak? No good.
No, I want processed. Mass-produced, but
when I'm stoned for 420, I do want steak-ups. I'm not taking the time to cook a ribeye.
But no, it's been great. I mean, I've developed a ton of good relationships, both with customers and people in the beer industry, around Buffalo and also from other states. Great working there because I handle the ordering. I know it's coming in. I know it's going to be fresh. I know it's coming out. It's going to be new. So I've got, I got my hands right in the pot, and, I can, essentially just grow my beer palate pretty much day after day. It's usually something new every day that I try.
Yeah, that's a great place to be. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, last night at Blue Monk, they had so many sours on tap. A lot of times you go into a bar and, depending on how many taps they have, that's the craft beers that you can try. But being privy to hundreds of different beers coming in to, inflate the 650 beers that you already have there. You can just pick and choose. I want to develop my farmhouse palate.
Right.
Next few farmhouse beers.
And that's the thing is I want to at least have something representative of each style. Like I said, like before we talked about the Grisette beer, not common, not often brewed, but we do have, there's 3 in stock, which is, more than many other places would have. And, I'm probably given the choice of 30 to 50 new beers a week to bring in. And obviously there's a space constraint and, and reading the trends and knowing what people like. So I've got to make decisions of, not to bring certain things in. But, I think I do a pretty good job in, making it as broad as possible. What's that, Danny?
Nothing. Keep my mouth shut after that.
We'll find out on playback.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I mean, I don't know, I think Brew Works has been great for the Western New York beer scene and also the East Aurora beer scene. Before that, rest in peace, Tantalus. I mean, they had a decent selection.
They really did.
Things come and go, and obviously they've left, but I think we stepped into their place and maybe even overstepped into their place back in 2012, and have brought brand new beers to the palates of East Aurora and Western New York.
Yeah, and even with the opening up of the cellar, which it's a different kind of cellar beers; those are on tap, not being aged. But with that opening up and 12 whole new tap lines, just expanding, what's available fresh from.
Right, and that was kind of nice, a little more freedom, where it was, we can always have a sour on, we can always have a cider, multiple IPAs instead of just one, and then a couple wild card taps where it could be something funky, it could be imperial stout with chilies,
something barrel aged,
or getting into meads, stuff like that, which you don't really see too often.
Yeah, it's not super common.
Yeah.
And really, you can only do it, those probably aren't going to sell as well, so you can only do it if you have enough taps to then use a few up for special items.
Yep.
One of the cool things, though, that about ABW is that when they first opened, they only have 6 taps upstairs. Now you guys have moved on to a total of 18, added the 12 downstairs in the cellar. But when you guys first opened, when I first went there and I actually met you, one of the coolest things was for me and Chris and to come in, and sometimes it wasn't even we didn't go to we could drink something on the tap list, but you also have the cooler,
right?
And there's always something chilled and maybe something different, maybe something you just brought in that you think we might like, and I could literally just say to you, I'm like, here's a price range, $5 to $10,
yep.
And you would go back to the cooler, find something, have no idea what it was, pour it for me, and I'd be flabbergasted. I'd just be like, all right, I really like this. What the hell did you just give me? And then the bottle would come out later. I'm like, all right.
Give me a second.
The singles cooler, literally has at least 150 different beers in it, and that's just low ballpark. Plus, being able to chill anything on shelf, it allows people to go beyond their comfort zone if they want to, or it's just it's a huge attractor for people that they know we have something in stock, and even if it's not cold, we can get it cold, and they can be enjoying it somewhere other than their house.
Now, speaking out of their comfort zones and kind of coming back to something you said earlier of people asking for Coors or Blue Light, when that happens, or they ask for one of those standard beers, or maybe they just say, I don't know what to get, how many times, when you talk to them and advise them, how many say, no, this isn't for me, and how many kind of take that advice and try it out and, give you some feedback?
I think most people will, especially now, they're they know that we don't do that, or maybe jokingly they ask for the Coors, but we always have at least tap one is easy, something easy, Pilsner, lager, something light, even pale lager, and some pale ales that aren't super hoppy, we've put on there, and and then you got the flights. You talk somebody into a flight, and then it's 5 ounces. It's not something you're married to.
Yeah, not a huge commitment.
And it's if you want it to be gone in one sip, you can make it gone in one sip. And I think there's been plenty of customers that I see that came in and they were strictly lager drinkers, Pilsner drinkers, and then now they love IPAs, or they've gotten into barrel aged beers or sour beers. I think that's the biggest shock is when the person that originally asked for Coors is now coming in looking for, asking about Crooked Stave or Almanac Sours or, some of the, long-established Belgian ones like Flanders Reds or Bruins.
How far the people have come.
Yeah, that's a huge jump there.
Just, I'm hoping restaurants start all restaurants start catching on, and there's better beer.
It seems that way.
I hate when, you ask their beer list and they start with, Mick and Mick Light. Yep, it's not getting any better from that point.
No, that's not. They start with the high ones and then go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it seems like more restaurant. The craft beer industry in general is still exploding, and it's nowhere near saturation yet. So it seems like restaurants are catching on to that, and I mean, I'll still find a few that don't have any craft beers, but most at least have
Southern Tier, Community Beer Works is a big one that's popping up. Things that are local.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with so many breweries in Buffalo now, it's kind of hard for a restaurant to not have a local brewery.
I think what's a restaurant? Curly's. I think that's out there. It's always something local that you can get, to drink.
Well, they've been doing craft there for a while. Which has been nice, because that's the thing. It's like, you're going to go out to a nice restaurant and spend good money to have, a well-crafted meal. If, say you don't like wine, I used to drink wine, I don't really love wine anymore, but I want good beer. And if I'm going to have something killer for dinner, I want some killer to pair up with it drink-wise.
Right. And,
as much as macro played a role in my early drinking career, at this point, I want nothing to do with it.
I can actually
unless I'm eating Asian food. Then a Tsingtao is perfect.
Yeah, something
I love
lighter.
Tsingtao Tiger beer.
Tsingha? Yeah.
I'll pull a Miller High Life if I'm eating Chinese food.
Yeah. If I gotta drink any macro, Jenny kills it. Jenny beer is good as much as people want to hate on them. Cream ale's awesome. But just regular Jenny is so much better than Labatt. But in terms of like bigger American, definitely Miller Lite. But I
agree.
If there's craft, I'm going for the craft.
Surprising that there's actually several restaurants that I find it always odd that they haven't gone after the craft beer scene yet. And I'm like, you guys are like a well-established place in Western New York, and yet the beer you're serving, you're a bar, and I'm like, I don't get it. And I'm like, I guess but you're coming here for maybe the food or, this, but I'm like, but if you're sitting at a bar, you're still drinking. So, and there's one place out in Buffalo in particular that I won't mention exactly where it is, but even on the walls, I'm like, well, you're promoting all these places, and it says, now in stock Hamburg, now in stock, Community, and I'm like, but you're not selling it. I'm very confused.
Wait.
I'm going to take a guess when we take a break.
But see, a place like that, maybe they wouldn't actually sell it even if they had it on tap. So if you walked in there and saw it on tap, is that the kind of place that you would want it? How long has that keg been sitting in there?
Yeah, but the thing is, then
how
you
long
also got that
beer
Southern Tier IPA sitting there, and that Sam Adams Summer Ale, it's still sitting there.
But I think if you expand your offerings to people, you will attract more people.
This is the place that gets a lot of people.
Even if I'm going out for something cheap, I'll look into if they have craft beer, and if they don't, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to sound snooty, but I want something good to drink with good food.
Yeah, because your beer with a great meal is not just to cleanse your palate of the meal; it's to enhance the meal.
Exactly. Although I pretty much break the rules and just drink IPAs more times than not, but I do appreciate a good food beer pairing. This barley wine would be great with any type of cave aged cheese.
Oh yeah,
or even
a blue.
Yeah, even creme brulee or something. You could definitely pull that off with.
Yeah, creme brulee.
Accentuating flavors.
Speaking of flavors, I'm dry, so let's move on to our third beer.
For sure.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
So the next beer we have here is the Old Curmudgeon. That's from Founders Brewery, and this came up from the cellar. This is 2 years old. It's a 2014. So, and I just want to say, Curmudgeon is one of the best beers that you can age. So if you want to get into aging beer, go grab a Founders Curmudgeon, because it is just...
I get that name wrong, Chris.
Did I say old?
You did say old. Although it is an old bottle.
It is an old bottle.
He looks old, too.
It does kind of go hand in hand with a Curmudgeon. I always think of the old guy.
This beer is such a gorgeous color.
Oh, right. It's like garnet.
This is a 14 Curmudgeon. Actually, one of the best things that we did at ABW with Greg and a bunch of other regulars and friends of ours is that we did a taste testing of all different years.
3-year vertical last year.
Mm-hmm. And I had brought in the 13, we had the 14, and we had the 15. And this beer just ends up aging so well for some reason.
Well, I remember thinking, because I had mine, the ones we're drinking now is a year at that point. And I was like, damn, Danny. Damn, Daniel. Like, one more year on this thing is going to be perfect, and it is. And now I still have a bunch, and I should probably drink them.
And I actually bought some off of you, and those are in my house, so I've got ones that are now 4, 3, and 2 years old.
There's just a glut of curmudgeon here.
There's just so many bottles. I'm like, I don't even know why and how I ended up with someone. Like, at one point, I'm actually going to have to sit down and drink these.
I mean, it's starting to warm up outside. It's going to be to the point where you're not really into drinking this, really. You're going to want something else for the warm weather.
No, not necessarily, because it's getting to be bonfire weather.
I was going to say,
sitting
around the fire
Yeah.
later at night.
Cools down a little bit, and then you can just sit there and just crack one open. So
The smoke would actually accentuate this pretty good.
Yeah.
I bet this would be
we
good
need
with
more
cigar.
smoke in here.
Oh, yeah.
This would be a good cigar beer.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, in the interest of science, we're going to have a bonfire with cigars and curmudgeon over the summer. We'll report back to you.
Yes.
For
for
science. To
For
science.
science. Let you know how it goes. We'll have a detailed report.
Nah, not that detailed.
I get a booziness in the nose.
Do you?
I don't get it. It's hidden insanely
Like
well
flavor-wise, yeah.
in the flavor, though. Like I don't get booze in the flavor at all. It's sweet. It's not cloying though. Like we said, it's
molasses, maple, caramel.
yeah.
Like I would pour this on pancakes for sure. Like, all over pancakes.
Have you poured a beer on pancakes yet?
No, I haven't.
Hello.
I'd like to reduce this down
Thank you.
to make it a little syrupy, and then pour it over pancakes.
No, I have.
Actually, no
Candy.
waffles.
Yeah, there you go. Beer candy.
Beer candy. Make candy out of it.
No, I have. I mean, I do have in my cupboard. I've got
Simple syrup. Reduce it down.
Some
bourbon barrel aged maple syrup,
Ooh.
Okay.
which is nuts. which is always like that. Always reminds me of pouring like a really heady beer on it. But,
Yeah.
Still never. I guess I don't really like wet pancakes. As much as it sounds like a great idea, I don't really think it probably would be.
See, that's
Yeah,
the
that's
thing.
a good point.
That's why you go with waffles.
Right.
Those are awesome.
They don't sock out as easy.
You're really team waffle, aren't you?
I'm team waffle.
The
baby.
team waffle.
The things you can do with a waffle
Team
maker,
waffle.
though.
I've used my waffle iron for so many things, from just bacon to cheese fries to doesn't matter what goes in that thing.
Cinnamon rolls.
Yep.
Ooh. There you
Cake.
go.
Just plain cake batter works.
Yep.
In that thing.
Cake batter. Huh. That is just a natural thing to pour into a waffle iron, yeah.
You can anything you want.
There's like,
Really?
As far as you can dream, you can do it with the waffle iron.
Is the Willy Wonka waffle iron?
it's not just for waffles anymore, although it does make really damn good waffles. There was a slight carbonation that I got still with this, and I'm just killing off, and when I do, and I'm swirling it in this glass, that nuttiness comes through immediately, and I'm picking up almost like a walnut kind of characteristic to it.
Yeah, as it warms, definitely getting that. Although I didn't have that much carbonation.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely nutty. I'd say mediumly toasty, not like overly. Like it doesn't have a sharp bite to it.
That's fair.
Also, it's been a year since I drank a fresh curmudgeon, so I kind of forget what it was. I know, I mean, definitely carbonation was up. A lot boozier.
I had one maybe a month ago,
Yeah.
and it had like not chocolate, but it had like a roastiness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really died off and turned into more of like a toffee character.
Yeah. It's like luscious candy.
There's some beers you just gotta let sit. Just
Yeah. This is proof right here. What aging will do.
Yeah.
This is a better example.
If you're listening, go age a Founder's Curmudgeon. We cannot stress this enough.
And then message us in a year.
Or 12.
Yes.
surprisingly enough, actually, Chris, you had brought a bottle for Greg tonight. That's probably one of my favorite beers to age. That changes to me so completely, and I believe it's a what is it? It's the Duchess. It's the Duchess de
Oud
Brion.
Bruin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just trying to remember the style that I couldn't remember. But that by the time I've pushed that to the expiration date on the cork, and by the time you get to the end of that one, it's a completely different animal, and it's so good though.
Yeah, I mean that one fresh is like it's like drinking balsamic vinegar. Yeah.
Also good, but not what I always want.
I did make a Duchess de Bourgogne vinaigrette once.
Oh, nice.
Which wasn't actually that bad.
What'd you use it on?
Grilled romaine.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was one of the first beers into craft beer that got me going down this path.
Yeah. That I still find that hard
So
to,
odd.
Yeah, the drinking vinegar made you think, I'm going to pursue in this industry, find more.
But it's definitely. I mean, you know, touching on Duchess, like that's a good intro to sour beers. So I think that's now what's trendy.
Where do you think we'd go from here?
I mean, I think based on just looking at numbers and everything and what I sell more IPA than anything. I guess I'm a contributing factor to that, as you all probably are.
Yeah.
But I think, going back to when I started at Brew Works, I was IPA or nothing. I mean, that's really all I drank. I mean, I could drink other things, I just didn't enjoy it.
I remember ordering a stout from you once, and I forgot what it was, but it was a very reputable stout. And you just kind of glared at me. Like, we have an IPA on tap. Why would you order a stout? I said, I don't know, I'm just in the mood for a stout. And you reluctantly poured me a stout.
I think what the big switch was getting tickets to BCTC in 2013.
This year. Can't wait.
And it was, it's like I had like a 5-day crash course to get familiar with Belgian styles. And, I guess that's where everything started to blossom for me. But definitely, like, sours are very popular.
Yeah.
You get a lot more people coming and looking for them.
And that's the thing right now is it's kind of weird because the beer market is just not saturated at all. So IPAs exploded and became huge, and almost all craft beer lovers love IPAs. But in the past few years, sours have really come in, and you have your good traditional sours, and a lot of companies are starting to make sours now that never made sours. But it's not pushing out IPAs. IPAs are still as popular as ever, and it's just sours are there now too. I mean, we're not even anywhere near saturation, so we could see a whole bunch of other styles come up without pushing away other styles.
Although, touching on IPA though, now it's not even like the new East Coast. It's like the New England IPA, like the stuff coming out of Massachusetts and Vermont.
So good.
Oh yeah,
It's in the words of Jeremy. It's like a warm fruit blanket on your tongue. But they're just super juicy, like super rounded, like the body's perfect.
What was the...
yeah, they're usually it's super cloudy.
And it's
Yeah.
I mean, to me, New England IPAs are like Lay's potato chips. Like I can't just drink one.
Was it Juice Bomb you guys had on tap the other day from Sloop?
Yep.
That was just awesome.
Yeah, perfect. Just juicy, not overly malty, right amount of malt to give the beer a perfect backbone, so that there's like body. It doesn't finish too quick.
I mean, we've had a couple really good ones. A lot of them coming out, like the Surly's, coming out.
Yeah.
There. We've had the Heady Toppers. We've had the Lawsons. One of my favorite isn't even actually an ale. It's lager. I think it's the Excess.
Oh yeah,
From Jack Stuyvesant, which just showed up on the market. I'm like, wait, where the hell did this come from?
that'll be So the Access was a response to them retiring Mass Rising, which was the double IPL.
Retirement could be a very good thing then.
I mean, I like the Mass Rising, and I'm kind of upset that it's gone. But if they're going to be doing Excess, which formerly was just draft, I think once we got it in bottles, but it wasn't commonly bottled. It was usually just like a draft only option, and now it's coming out in 4-pack tall boy cans. Obviously super limited release, so the emphasis is on fresh. Not as limited as a Grim beer, but it should be out monthly. And I mean that beer was surprisingly awesome.
Now, what I haven't had this beer. Is this a IPL?
It's an IPL. So Jack's Abbey does only lagers.
They do 'em so
Which is really unique because nowadays, I mean, like most popular styles are ales. So to do a all lager brewery, which obviously fermentation is done under refrigeration, so they've got to have
And
Usually-
longer.
longer.
and longer. But I mean, but that method yields, super clean taste. So like on the excess, like the hops come through. And they all whatever the combination is. I don't think they've released what it is. It works.
There's been a flux of beers in the super fresh, the Lord Hobo Steal His Can, and the Boom Sauce. All those that's type.
Well, that the super fresh though is actually all a
Pilsner. Yeah.
wicked dry hops.
But it doesn't taste like a Pilsner. You're sitting there like,
No.
And I remember being at the bar and like I think you guys had it on
Well,
tap.
I put it on and people, the IPA diehards are like, oh, I don't drink pilsners.
You will with this one.
Yeah.
And just be like, just shut your mouth, take the beer, and then they're like, oh my god, that's really good.
And I
Like
think
I told
Jack's
you,
Abbey-
and then if you come see me at Brew Works, you've got to know that I drink mostly IPAs. So obviously, like the IPA that we have on is always going to be,
I think right now it's
like
the chill way from
best I
Great
can
Lakes.
get, yeah.
Once again, delicious. I still miss calling it the Alchemy Hour, but yeah, I can't do that anymore apparently.
Nope.
The breweries that do produce really good lagers, I give a lot of credit to because, like we touched on earlier, it's more difficult, and there is a bit of stigma around lagers. Not only through craft beer snobs who just say, "Oh, I want ales or IPAs," but even I've heard people who aren't that into craft beer; they just kind of drink normal beers, and they'll see a pilsner or lager and be like, "Oh, I know that means. That means like that's like a bud or something." No, I don't want that.
Well,
But it can be done so it can be just as flavorful as an ale.
Now that you say that, I think a trend that's going to be coming out it's going to be more lagers or pilsners.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely see that.
Like
I've been seeing Pilsners coming back quite a bit.
yeah, something just non-aggressive by any means to the palate.
We're just gonna get rid of that corn flavor.
Well, you're only going to really see that on like the mass-produced ones because they are using a ton of adjuncts like rice and corn, where you get that it's like corn syrupy sweet.
Right, and that's just because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
A lot of them they're
But
producing.
you get craft breweries doing it, and Jack's Abbey is like leading the charge for.
Well, in between the beers we've been drinking, Alice and I have been finishing this bottle of the rye IPL from Jack's Abbey.
I can definitely see that happening in lagers in general becoming more popular, especially since you can hop them, but in general, a hopped ale is going to be a lot more bitter, a lot more hoppy than a hopped lager. So the threshold, if you're not into the craft beer yet, or maybe you're just into some craft beers, the threshold is going to be a lot lower to joining because you're not going to have to get used to that acerbic or bitter character that hops can give to it.
Right. Well, actually, speaking on that, I just brought in a keg from Victory. So the series that they do, it's like a quarterly limited release series. The last one was the Agave IPA.
Oh, yeah.
And the next one, which we got a keg in, which should be on soon at Brew Works, is it's actually a Brett Pilsner. Which
Really?
I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Of course, I ordered it.
Awesome.
Because, and it's fresh, so you're probably going to get a lot, based on experience, be a little more fruitier, not so funky. So that should be definitely an interesting beer to try.
Yeah, and that was Victory, you said?
Yeah, Victory.
Yeah, we had a whole episode of Victory. I trust Victory to do something.
Well, it's the Blackboard series.
Okay. I think the surprising thing is I think when craft beer started hitting the scenes, you had things. I think for me, it was the biggest one early on was like Sam Adams. But once again, they started with the Boston Lager. They had, you started out with flavor profiles. What can you add to a beer? The different flavor compositions of orange and citrus and, vanilla and coffee and all these different things. Now it's turning out to, it's like, okay, yeah, you had lagers, you have ales. why can't we change lagers? And that's what you're seeing out of Jack Abbey's. And now it's like we can take all the different styles and we can just play with them. There's no end to what we can do to these beers. We can throw this into that. No one says we can't. Really.
Well, in terms of that, in terms of that, I mean, just look at it was an evil twin brew. I think it's called the Big Ass Money Stout, and it was brewed. Obviously, Evil Twin's a gypsy brewer, so he partnered up with Lervig in Norway, and they wanted to brew a Norway-centric beer. So they looked at Norway food. What's a hot food in Norway? And there's actually a company that makes frozen pizzas, and they sell 40 million pizzas a year on average to a country that's only inhabited by 5 million people. That's like every resident citizen of Norway buys 8 pizzas a year. So they brewed the beer with frozen pizza, and then in the dry hopping stage, because Norway is one of the richest nations in the world, they actually dry hopped it in addition to hops with money.
Okay, that just made me feel so proud of the fact.
And there you go, the Big Ass Money Stout.
Nice. It makes me feel so much better about the fact that when we check the numbers of who listens to this podcast, at one point the highest rated country was Norway, and I'm just
cheers to Norway.
Yeah, Norway. But if this is the case, brava to you.
And have a pizza for us.
Yeah, and drink money, I guess.
Yes.
It's like Kiss when they put blood into the ink of their comic book. We're gonna throw money in this.
All right, so on to our last beer of the evening here, and actually, Greg, can you introduce this one? We're doing a vertical, which is the only vertical we're doing tonight.
Yep, absolutely. So we've got the Ballast Point Brewing Company Victory at Sea, which is an imperial porter brewed with coffee and vanilla. So we've got bottles that are, I'd say brewed within the last month or so, and then also I've got bottles. I believe they're probably about 1.5 years at this point.
Oh, that's a pretty nice age then.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the sharpest things that I noticed had to do with the coffee part of it. The newer one, you can definitely taste the coffee. You don't question. I wonder if this is a coffee porter.
I mean, aroma wise, it smells like cold brew coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't get vanilla aroma, nothing, just straight coffee.
It comes across as that green pepper that we've talked
green
about.
Pepper.
We have, yeah. Yeah. I do get that. Not as strongly as the other beers where it's come up on the podcast, but I do get it. And I think it's hard to avoid that with any beer that includes coffee in it. Not that you would want to avoid it. I love that aspect to it. But on the older one, that coffee just... It's there a little bit, but it's transformed. It's no longer such a bold, straight-up coffee flavor.
You get so much more chocolate out of the
Yeah.
each one.
I'm wondering-
Almost a tobacco nose. Something about it.
I'm wondering if maybe that vanilla kind of brings up the roast character into more of a milk chocolate.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that accompanied with the breakdown of some of the other flavors.
I'm loving this aged one more than...
Yeah, the aged
it's,
one
it's
is...
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, as far as bonfires go, this aged one, especially the tobacco flavor that Dan mentioned that gets brought out, this would be another great beer to have around the bonfire with the cigar over the summer.
Bunch of stogies.
Yeah. This is, from now on, I'm just going to set aside beers to age so that I can have around bonfires next summer.
And I think, speaking of the mouthfeel of it, the fresh one, you get that bitter harshness from the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Carbonation, again, is up. But the aged one is super, super creamy.
Yeah, definitely a lot creamier.
And I think that just plays well into the whole, the chocolate flavor that's developed in the beer.
I wouldn't have even have thought about taking this Ballast Point and just letting it sit for a year before.
And typically, there's certain beers that you don't really want to age too long. Anything, the coffee will fall off for sure, and anything brewed with chilies. So a Westbrook Mexican cake or a Prairie Bomb, it'll age appropriately, being an imperial stout. But the selling point for those beers is that there's that spice that really plays well with like the body and the heat, or the body and like the chocolate and the coffee and the beer. You let that go too long, and it's essentially not noticeable at all.
Yeah.
Because it's actually, I think I have one Prairie Bomb left at home, but the one that I also have is the Chocovesa, which I've been
Chocovesa.
Onward.
which I was gonna let you keep going. I was like, this is awesome. But I kept always wondering about just how long can I really keep that beer for? And just with all the flavors that are going on in that, it seems like something I can let sit. But I'm gonna start to lose a lot of aspects of the chilies and the coffee, and that like things are gonna start to die out. And eventually, I'm probably just gonna be left with a very smooth, chocolatey, vanilla-y beer, possibly.
Yeah. So
Which I won't hate.
No, it's different. That's not bad, but it's different. So if you ever had one of those bigger beers or a bigger stout with peppers, you're thinking, boy, this would be delicious if they didn't add fucking peppers to it.
Green peppers taste like ass.
Just age it for a year, and bam, there you go.
Yeah.
No more peppers in it.
But I think, a lot of the aged pepper beers, they're utilizing like ancho chilies, which are smoked poblanos.
Right.
So you get that, there's multiple levels of flavor in that. Yeah, I know Mexican cake is ancho. I've seen some with pasilla peppers, which are, I believe they're smoked chili de arbol. And then, you don't, I don't know, I'd say refrain from anything with ghost chilies.
I was going to say that Ghost Face Killah. How long do you keep that, or do you want fresher than better?
10 years.
It still hasn't mellowed out.
Every time
it's actually eating through the glass bottle.
Every time I've had Ghost Face, it's been, I limit myself to 2 ounces, and it's followed up by like a 20-minute hiccup session, which looks super professional when I'm behind the bar, and I can't even complete an entire sentence without a.
Now, you, Chris, have sat there and you've just enjoyed an entire bottle to yourself.
No, I've drank an entire bottle on my own. I wouldn't say I've enjoyed it. I drank it out of spite.
Why would you put yourself in that?
Damn you, Tina.
I opened it. I was going to finish the shit. Be damned if I would pour that down the sink. So I did finish it.
Okay, so it wasn't a spite at actually a group of people. It was a spite at the beer itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it was... I have to live with myself. When I look at myself in the mirror, I want to say, you didn't pour beer down the drain.
See, I'll utilize some
How
of
did you
the
regret
drain
it
more
later?
necessary.
No. Wait, no, I don't...
No fiery shits?
No fiery...
I don't buy into that burn twice garbage. Your body synthesizes it.
Yeah.
But it's just,
I had a whole bottle of that myself before, and yeah, I didn't get anything.
if anything, the only side effect is heartburn.
Yeah.
Never had
Oh,
heartburn.
Yeah, I don't really get heartburn. It was, I wasn't, as I would sip it and then my mouth would start burning due to the ghost peppers, I'd be like, why am I doing this? And then a minute would pass, and I'd be like, it couldn't have been as bad as I remember. I'm going to take another sip. And then that went on like another dozen or so times.
It's gotta get better now.
You know what though? That beer to me does get better. The reason that the one night, I forgot which one of you guys brought it over. I think it was you.
Yeah.
And like everyone was sipping on it and no one was drinking it, but I drank an entire sample glass myself. By the end of that glass, like the heat was there. I could taste it. Like you could feel it. But then like all this like fresh like citrus fruit comes through from the peppers, and you start getting a lot more after you finally get past that heat, which is why I put myself through a full
That's the thing, like super hot chilies like that, they do have very like floral citrus, like underlying flavors. If you can ignore the heat, which most people can't,
tame that
you will
chili.
get those,
right.
And that's, but like going back on like chilies and stouts, I think is the best application that they could be used for. Brew Works this week we had on the Green Flash Dia de los Serranos.
Oh yeah.
So it was a 8% or 8.8 stout brewed with Serrano chilies, and like the chili, like the bite that the aroma has was there. the flavor of the chili was there, but it was the right amount of heat. It was like
How-
perfectly balanced. I mean, because it's like, you go to Mexico, and if anybody's ever had Mexican chocolate, there's chili powder in it, so there's a slightly spicy character to it. But I think, they're both, earthy based, and they just work so well together.
Now, how's that beer received at Brew Works? I mean, I'm sure you had your craft beer aficionados who knew what it was, knew what chili beers were, had it, appreciated it. But just sort of the mass public that comes in, that maybe gave it a try or threw it in as one of the members of the flight that they
The
got.
Green Flash?
I tell you, I opened on Saturday, and I probably had a dozen people that ended up drinking that beer, originally making like the poo-poo face. And they had they started with a 5 ounce, and then they came right back and got a 10.
Oh, wow.
I had one guy, he was in town. He had, responsibly gotten a ride and hung out while his family was doing other things, and I think he probably had like 4 of them. And then
That's a smart person.
And went home with a couple of bottles because he was blown away.
Surprisingly enough, that day I think I came in because you guys actually were doing the KBS that day, and you had it on the cellar tap downstairs, and
Yep.
so for me, the first time I had it, I was like, well, I just drank a KBS. This is kind of lackluster to me right now.
Right. But I mean, yeah, you're looking,
Came back 2 days later, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I'm like, there we go. I'm like, you're winning. You've won me back again.
But no, I made the executive decision to pull that upstairs just because I knew it was going to be good. I knew it would sell, and we ended up selling, a fair amount of bottles from it.
Nice.
And the keg for something like that, that's kind of off the wall for a lot of people.
Very, very few bars would I expect to see that.
I mean, that 6 keg only, for being the ABV it was and the price it was, I mean, that keg only lasted for like 3.5 days.
That's not bad at all. I'm waiting for some, I know that we had done a food pairing out in East Aurora at one point, and the whole notion of hops actually accentuating heat when it comes to spicy foods, and when you're eating something and then you drink that, that IPA, that heat comes out even more. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself right now, I'm like, you don't really do see too many just ghost chilies just being thrown into that IPA and whatnot.
Well, I mean, you got habanero scalping.
You do.
That I've drank it and appreciated it, but of all the sculpins, that's the one that I actually have to really be in the mood for.
Yeah,
they don't tame
yeah.
down the pepper in that.
No, and I mean it does fluctuate obviously because different batches of peppers are going to have different levels of heat, but yeah, that one. I mean, for me, it's not one that I would ever buy a 6-pack of. We do have people that do buy 6-packs of it, and more power to them. But
Yeah.
I don't know. But like you said, I've got to be in a mood. But if you want to blend that,
I was going to say,
grapefruit sculpin with habanero sculpin is pretty fantastic.
you've done some interesting things at ABW using the Randalizer, and I believe you did do something with the sculpin and chilies.
We did. We actually, it was great. Habanero sculpin had come out, and it was available, but I wanted to showcase Big Eye.
Okay.
So we essentially did a Big Eye fish taco. No fish was harmed or involved.
I'm just picturing fish in the Randall.
No, yes. Just
Swimming in the Randall.
yeah, we had
Just raw herrings have been shoved in there.
we had live sardines and chunks of haddock. No. No, so essentially what I did was like Big Eye tuna is a widely used in Southern California as like fried fish taco. So what I did was essentially created a decomposed salsa that would go on that fish taco. So I did it with bruised cilantro, grilled pineapple, and jalapenos. So you got that citrus sweetness from the pineapple, you got that earthiness from the cilantro, and then the heat from the chilies.
Yeah, sounds like a great combo.
Yeah.
I don't think I was there for that. How'd that turn out?
It was good. It was very good. and it was kind of nice too because Big Eye is kind of like the maltier big brother of Sculpin.
Yeah.
So I think that sweetness kind of, leveled out, like especially the heat from the chilies, for sure.
Let's say with the Randall, like you've done certain things like that. You've used mango. You did the Elm Street brewing with the Elm Street coffee. I don't remember what beer you used though.
Well, I've done Elm Street a couple of them.
And then you've also done some weird things. The Skittles.
Yeah, Skittles. That was a huge mistake. What was my name that night? Like Dr. Gregenstein or something.
What have you wrought?
Remember, it's the Willy Wonka
but
beers.
no, it was that was kind of inspired. The Halloween before we had Dogfish had Festina Peixe on, which is a peach Berliner Weiss, and we have the Randall Jr., which is a way less complicated version of the Randall 3.0 that we do have. And we did Skittles with a sour peach beer, and it worked great because it was a super small batch. But when we filled that full Randall with Skittles, and not really thinking that was just going to continue to dissolve, it was atrocious.
So maybe it's not so much that you have to. Maybe not use so many Skittles. Just drop like maybe a few in there next time.
Put like gummy. I would assume gummy worms would melt like slower. But no, we ended up there was so much sugar in it became a super saturated solution, and sugar started precipitating at the top of the Randalizer. It's like pure white fine sugar. Yeah, it was bad. I will never make that mistake
what are
again.
Skittles made out of?
But no, the Randall is fun though. Just getting to infuse flavors into beer, or like having a beer. I'd be like, chilies would be good in this, or more fruit. I did a coffee IPA a couple months ago. I would like to do that again.
Wasn't it coffee and lemon zest? I think you added. And
yeah, so I did
impressive.
Elm Street Bakery. I think it was whatever their dark roast was at the time, whether Guatemalan or Ethiopian or something. And then I actually peeled the rind off of 2 lemons. So, you got that coffee up front, so you had the bitter from the coffee, the bitter from the hops, and then it finished with the citrus from the hops, plus like the active lemon oil in the rind. Like really just cut it at the end, so it finished really nicely. And I think that was the one that was met with the most opposition. 'Cause, you tell people coffee and IPA, and it's just it's most people don't think to put those two together, but it works fantastically.
You're a chef, and being just a food lover, there's so many things that you don't think about when it comes to flavors and what you pick out. When it comes to peppers, the sweetness that can come with it. When it comes to coffee, there are little things that are in that backbone of it that can go with hops, and just the grapefruit, the citrus, the bitterness, chocolate cup, all those things go together in some way, but it's what you're using in that beer that's going to make it work.
Right.
And it's not as far-fetched as, and I think people get scared by that. I'm like, well, I would never put that together. I was like, you would do it more than you think you would. You probably have at some point in your life. Maybe not with beer, but you've done it before.
But that's the thing with coffee, though, is now you go to any place that's reputable for coffee, and, on their menu, it's got each coffee, wherever it's, originating from, there's tasting notes to it. Mm-hmm. There's different nuances that comes out. Like, I'm really glad that we've moved beyond, like, chock full of nuts and Maxwell House. That's pretty much
8 o'clock coffee.
It's garbage. But now you're getting a lot of single origin stuff, fair trade certified, and you're getting a better cup. But coffee to coffee. I drink my coffee black. Sometimes you can pick up some are super lemony, others are super earthy. Some have toffee notes, some have caramel notes, some have toasty notes.
And this is the stuff we're talking that is not flavored.
Correct. Zero hazelnut in this household.
Your blueberry coffee can go fuck itself.
Well said, Daniel.
I expect to see that on a t-shirt.
I'll get on it.
All right, well, we're nearing the end of the podcast here, so we want to end it off with our segment, What I've Been Drinking. For new listeners, this is a segment where we talk about something we've drank recently. It could be because we really liked it. It could be because we really hated it and it made a powerful impression, perhaps a powerful enemy, or just, interesting experience we had around it. So I'll start off with Alex. What have you been drinking recently?
Just a couple days ago, actually the three of you were there, I had an IPA tasting. I brewed 15 gallons of IPA, split it into 3 different batches, and pitched different yeast strains into each batch. And just had a little tasting to see the differences of the different yeasts. And yeah, I've been drinking a lot of it since then.
I still like number 1 the best.
That's
Number
my
1.
favorite as well.
Yeah.
I've been going with a mix. Although when I was at your house, I was pouring both taps in my glass at the same time. I was mixing 1 and 2. I was like, this is good. I like this.
1.5.
1.5.
When you make that in the future and give it a name, you're gonna be like, I want number 1. Guys, it has a name now. Ask for the beer. No, give me number 1.
It is number 1. There can be only 1.
Or if you did number 2, you could have the dude from Austin Powers.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Evil's right-hand man was number 2.
Took a moment there for that to register.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So why
I was
Austin.
digging way deep to 97.
It was a sad time for craft beer, but a good time for Austin Powers. Dan, what have you been drinking recently?
I've been going back to the whole IPA. I'm still on an IPA kick. I don't know, and I think it's just the fact that I'm hoping and waiting for just the weather to finally turn for once. And I just stocked my fridge with the Super Fresh, the Lord Hobo Steelless Can, the Great Lakes Chill Wave, and the Sit Your Ass Down. That's what's in my...
Sit Your Ass Down?
Sit Your Ass Down.
I haven't heard of that.
Help me out here. Great.
Against the Grain.
Against the Grain.
Out of Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah. And
yeah, their beers are phenomenal.
remember I don't know if you were with me, the one bottle of beer that I had bought, and it had a picture of a lovely hillbilly with a ball gag in his mouth next to a sheep.
Well, yeah, that's Rico Sovin.
Great label. I love that label.
Got a hot beard tweaking his nipple with a bunch of grapes down his pants. That's where Rico Sovin comes from. Is Sauvignon Blanc hops.
Okay.
Or Nelson Sauvignon hops, sorry.
Yeah.
Due to their similarity in flavor to Sauvignon Blanc grapes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just knew it was like this label is
Yeah.
fucking
White grape.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's white grape.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to post a link to a photo of that. If you're intrigued by this word picture that we're painting for you.
Because I saw all the little nuances, and it took me a while because you had to turn the bottle, and then you see, no, he's standing next to a sheep.
Citrus Downey's hugging an ostrich. All their labels are fairly highly offensive. They've got one called the Brown Note, and it's literally the rear shot of a dude wearing tighty whities with a skid mark stain. So
They aren't pulling any punches.
Wow. Is that a brown ale by any chance?
it is a brown ale.
Yeah.
All right, you went for the easy joke then.
Yeah, but good for them for executing. Not many breweries would do that. Greg, what have you been drinking recently?
Lately, working at Brew Works, I pretty much have first choice of everything.
We know it's in your cellar.
But if Grim Ales puts out an IPA, absolutely. I can't say enough good things about them. They're pushing the envelope. They were voted, I guess maybe about a year ago, a little less. There was a top 100 blind IPA tasting, and Tesseract got number 1 and Lambeau D'Or got number 4 out of 100, beating out Heady Topper and they're super fresh, super dank, just creamy mouthfeel, just tropical aroma and flavor, and also doing that, which is little easier to come by is a lot of the beers from Single Cut.
Oh yeah.
Those are really good.
Blue Monk just did a Single Cut night about a week and a half ago with one called Softly Spoken Magic Spells, which looked like Tang.
I think we had that actually.
Like bright, deep, cloudy orange. It was pretty much like hopped apricot juice with heavy tropical nuances to it.
That's a good way to describe it.
But I mean, earlier tonight, before the cast, I was drinking their half stack. But I mean, everything that they're doing is good. They actually just put out an Imperial Stout, also phenomenal. And then
A friend of mine was in New York City recently when they had their, I think, 3rd anniversary party, but it was an anniversary party. And he said they put on a pretty good party, too.
I could imagine. I mean, you're in Queens,
Yeah.
in New York City, of course. And then another one that I've recently come to love. Well, it's actually 2 of them, but going back to the first beer that we had, the Fuck Art The Heathens are coming from Tool. They put out one called Sir Amarillo, which was a sour pale ale.
Oh, I remember that.
And just like dank tropical hops with a nice sour undertone to it. And then they did a Goza called Goza to Hollywood, which was a 3.8%, so super sessionable Goza, brewed with oranges. And just aroma wise, it was like fresh squeezed orange juice. Flavor wise, you got it, but it wasn't overpowering. You still got the nice coriander and salt from what the Goza is normally like.
Nice. I did have a question. It was when talking back about that IPA. I kind of proposed this question. Do you think that I guess as the craft beer scene continues, you're starting to see those almost maybe legends? You started to see the heady topper influx. And the surly abrasive things that used to be hugely almost maybe sacred. And now you're starting to see it more and more, but now you've also got the guys who are just below that, and now they're starting to produce these things that are either are on par or better.
Well, I mean, you're seeing that a lot, like I alluded to earlier with the whole New England thing. I mean, Treehouse out of Massachusetts, awesome IPAs. And then you go up into Maine, and there's Foundation Brewing, there's Bissell Brothers. Maine Brewing Company Dinner is one of the best beers I've ever had. And I think heady's there's still a huge market for that, because to the people that are just coming into craft beer, heady is that elusive beer that you get your hands on it, you feel like king of the world. Now, you guys know from hanging out at Brew Works, the nights where we've killed 4 4-packs in a night.
Yeah.
The nights where everybody gets their own can.
It's good to have friends.
Yes.
I've never been sad seeing heady topper cans, but it's gotten to the point where it's not unexpected anymore.
You're like, oh, it's not Lawson's. But I mean, I'm lucky. My wife's from Vermont, and we get to go back there a couple times a year. And I mean, just what that state's putting out alone, be it from Burlington Beer Company, Foley Brothers, Fiddleheads, Hermit Thrush they do canned sour beers, which is not super common.
No,
not at all.
But just it all kind of falls in line with that just dang tropical juicy, super easy to drink, even if it's 9.5%. There's no clue that it's boozy.
That's the scariest part with those. Is
Right.
how drinkable
that's
they are.
we go to Worthy Kitchen when we're back home in Vermont, which is in Woodstock, and I can't leave there without drinking 6 or 7 beers, because they're all just like tropical hot bombs that go down easier than water does.
I don't even like the beach, and I want to be on one right now, just drinking beer after beer.
I bet Uber is really big in that state with all the people drinking 9%.
And yet we still don't have it
beers
here.
In Vermont? No, there's no Uber in Vermont.
Uber, go to Vermont.
No, Uber, just come
Just
to Buffalo.
Come to Buffalo. Let's do that.
Come to Buffalo, please.
Or do that.
We could really use your help over here.
But yeah, like I said, if I can get my hands on, New England IPAs, definitely going to do it. Actually, kind of following that trend, 6 Point out of Brooklyn is going to be doing their newest release once High Res is done is actually called New England IPA.
Wait,
Oh,
done?
really?
Well, no, just it's seasonal. Don't worry. don't you fret, my poor Daniel.
My shower beer will be gone.
For
No,
our
so-
listeners, Dan just started hyperventilating at the mention that High Res is gone.
But on a brighter note, their newest seasonal offering, it'll be in 4-packs, but it's going to be called New England IPA, and it's going to be that like tropical juice bomb.
I think the saddest part about that is having that tropical juice bomb that's super drinkable in those smaller style 6-point cans.
Yes,
I'm
but-
going to want a 16-ounce tall boy. I'm not going to want one of those 6-point cans.
But there's an upside. It means my showers will get so much more interesting.
Well, it's,
I forgot. We didn't bring up you and showering
I mean,
in this
not-
episode.
Now I did.
Now we did.
Just did.
not to support road sodas, but if you're gonna, I'd say 6-point. I mean, it's
Straight from the record.
Good disclaimer.
you're good you're good at the mall. You're good in the car.
They're the perfect
Looks
like
like an
energy
energy
drink
drink.
brand. It really is.
Yeah.
And we have tested this ourselves. Of just actually, it was just the simple. I think it was just the IPA that the 6-point
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And the
Ring
resin,
Alley?
just resin cans.
No, resin.
I've done that at the mall.
No, this was just out in public, just city, just walking around. And we just carried them in our pockets, and no one questioned it because it just looks like you're drinking an energy drink. We were bar hopping, and we had beers in between. Like,
Now, granted, I hail from a wonderful town that doesn't have an open container law, so this doesn't seem wrong to me at all to walk outside with an open can.
No, it's a God-given right.
Yeah, exactly.
because I don't want to drink the Buffalo sewer water.
Here you go.
It's good Jack with a creek spring water.
Lake Erie.
Yeah, that's what somebody should do. It's good Jack with a spring.
So, Chris, what have you been drinking?
Excellent question, Dan. Actually, one that stands out to me recently isn't even a beer. It's a cider. It was at Blue Monk, and actually, it's when they had all the Jolly Pumpkins on. So a lot of sour beers, a couple IPAs. I wasn't really in the mood for sour, so I had a couple sours. I went with a couple IPAs, and then I wasn't in the mood for an IPA anymore. So the choice is a bit limited, so I ended up going with the cider. And it was a blood orange cider from Cider Creek, and it was actually delicious.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm pretty sure
I
this
love.
is the one that got spilled entirely on my pants.
I think so. That was 50% your fault, though.
No, it was not.
50%.
And it wasn't even your beer.
No, it wasn't.
Or
Mine was.
cider.
I'm not gonna let my
See, I
beer
would
get
have lobbied for
spilled.
51.
It was Shelby's fault. Shelby, if you're listening, it was your fault that day. It was yours.
But on a bright note, Shelby did tell my wife that the blood orange saison cider was exactly like a mimosa.
Yeah,
It really did taste like
yeah,
it.
yeah, it really captured that. I mean, the blood orange just shine through beautifully.
My
And-
pants still smell like citrus.
You should wash those.
I'm not wearing them right now.
Dan, sit your ass down.
Duly noted.
Beer puns.
I drank that beer too.
But yeah, so that's something that stands out recently. And I would typically, I mean, I'll have a cider once in a while when it's the season, but I won't gravitate towards ciders. But that's one that I would happily drink again and choose over if there's other beer selections too.
Yeah, I agree.
And that about wraps it up for this podcast. Thank you everyone out there for listening to us. As always, you can go to our website at yourbrainonhops.com. Visit us on Facebook, Your Brain on Hops. Shoot us a comment. Let us know if there's anything specific you want us to cover, either a topic or a brewery. We're always looking for reasons to drink newer beers, so we'd love one that way. And then on Twitter and Instagram as well, at Brain on Hops, posting stuff there. And after this episode, just want to go ahead and thank Greg for being here and joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was great.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
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 Go get stoned.
You would say that.
Pumpkin beer sucks.
That's another episode.
To sing on. Pumpkin beer sucks.